what's going on with it. You can send them your bank statements if you need to, and try to negotiate something with it, because you know every time you get dinged for a 30-day late, it stays on your credit for 7 years. Okay, just that report does, and it drops your score immediately. So that's why it's so important. All right, pay down outstanding credit balances on your credit cards, and I'll say this several times here. You don't want your credit balances limited out. Let's say you have a credit card that only has $300 limit on it. Well, you don't want that limit or the monthly bill to be over 100 of 33% of your bill. You want to keep it low, 25 to 33%. I know, that might not be a lot of money to use on your credit card, but that's the fastest way to build up your credit, to keep those limit, that amount you owed, low. Okay? You don't really want to spend too much on your credit card, and if you do, pay it off every month so you don't fall behind. Okay? A higher balance on the closer you are to your credit limits, the more damage it's doing to your credit score. And you might not think it, but it will. You can lose, literally month by month, lose 5 to 10 points on your credit score by keeping those cards limited out. So you want to balance those out. And a little bit later, I go into more detail with this by explaining, how to balance them out. But that's what you need to do. Keep those limits low. All right. Also, accelerate the rate in which you pay off the installment loans, such as a car loan. Why? Because there's a debt to equity ratio that's taken into consideration, how much debt you have and how much credit you're able to take. The faster you get those loans paid off, the faster your debt to equity ratio increases, and therefore your credit score will increase. So there's a lot of ways to do this. One, you can pay. You saw this in Destroy Your Debt, or you've listened to it. You can pay your car loans every 2 weeks. You can pay them every week. You can pay your mortgage every 2 weeks. You can pay it every week, a portion of it, not your full credit. Half of it every 2 weeks, and a quarter of it every week. If the company will allow you to do it, but pay extra. Pay it down as fast as possible. Don't deal with high credit card balances. Transfer the debt from one card to another in order to take advantage of lower interest rates instead of focusing paying off those debts. This is huge. If you have decent credit, good enough that you can do this, get a credit card that has a low initial rate, whether it's 6 months or a year. But be careful to read the instructions. Then transfer that debt to the lower one that gives rid of your 19% debt. Don't get rid of that card. Keep the card open, just don't use it. Okay? Then the one that you transfer to, be careful, because a lot of times you could transfer a balance in, and the first time you use the card, it's in the small print. It immediately starts charging you an interest on the money that you just put in there, so that 0% is gone. Make sure you read the fine print. If that's the case, transfer it in and pay it off there, but don't use that card, okay? It's just a way to lower your interest rates. Don't close old accounts. Like I just said, if you transfer a fund, leave it open. Just don't use it, okay? Even if you never use them and they have a zero balance, the FICO score model takes into account how long you've had the credit history, and having a lot of credit accounts hurts your score. Yes, it's true. But once you have them, your scores have already taken the hit. So once you got the credit report, it's already taken a hit. Keep it open. Keep the balance at zero. That shows that you can borrow more money, which also helps to raise your credit score. And don't use them, or periodically use them with small amounts and pay them off immediately. I mean, literally, that's why building your credit and destroying your debt go together hand in hand, because a lot of this has to do with your budgeting. And if you haven't taken the budgeting class yet, you need to take it, because it'll help you out with figuring out what your budgets are and stay within those means. Once you do, free. All right, go through your class on destroying your debt and learn how to budget. I just said that, and I'll say it a million times over, because budgeting is so important. Start saving money to ensure these credit problems don't happen again. You need to save yourself a little nest egg. Some people say 3 months. Some people say 6 months. Anything is better than nothing. If you can save 3 months of expenses, you're doing pretty good. All right? That's how I feel. Why? Because if you lose your job or something happens, at least you can pay down the debt or drag it out for 3 months to make sure that you can. Make sure you pay the companies that report to the credit agencies first. For example, I personally have electricity with the village now, or let's say ComEd at the time, and Nicor gas. ComEd does not report to the credit agency, Nicor does. You get yourself into a bind with money, you pay Nicor first because they report it. Then you can pay ComEd later or late. But make sure you pay the people that report on time, okay? Never use over 30% of your limits. If you spend over 30%, pay it down immediately. All right? You don't want that limit to exceed 30% every time they report it. Another tip with that is pay those credit cards off twice a month, 3 times a month. Use it and pay it. Use it and pay it. Now, I know they'll suspend your credit card like they have mine, but they have to report that, and that helps your credit score immediately. So if you use it, pay it. Okay, pay it down. Even if it has to be 2 or 3 times a month, pay it down to keep that limit down. Spread your debt from existing credit cards to other cards with the limit on each one. A little sample of that. Let's say card 1 is limited out here. Okay, card 2, um, you well, actually, card 1, you have a full limit. You have no money on it. Card 2, you only have $100 on here left to spend. And card 3 here, you have $200 left to spend. Well, transfer that money. So card 1, 2, and 3, it's spread out over those 3 cards, the limit. So it's only a third on each one of them approximately, because this will help raise your credit score. I know in your mind you're showing, well, I have one credit card that's paid for and these other 2. But it looks better, according to their model, is if you have it spread out over the 3. All 3. Once you've cleaned up your file and saved a few $1,000, okay, if you can get to there, and you will, trust me. It might take a little while, but you'll get there. That's your backup money, that few $1,000s, okay? What I want you to do is make sure the bank who reports to the credit agency, and then go to a bank, and at most they'll probably only borrow you $500 to $1,000, but they can secure that with the CD and take a loan out of the bank. Even a small loan is important to rebuilding credit. Meet with the loan officer at the bank. All right, where your savings account is located. During the meeting, be upfront about the fact that you're processing rebuilding your credit. It's a person there, and they're a bank. They're not they're not a collection agency. Okay, as part of your process, you'd like a small bank loan. Work out some type of deal with them. Open a CD, use it for collateral. I know you might be embarrassed that, oh, well, I have bad credit. I don't want the banker to know I have bad credit. Well, most likely, with the statistics in this country, he doesn't have good credit either. So you're almost teaching him a lesson by taking out a small loan. Don't take out a loan to buy junk. Okay, if you use the loan, pay off some bills with the loan, and then pay that loan back, but don't go limiting it out as well. You pay a small amount. Let's say you take $1,000 loan. You never use more than 300, and you slowly pay that back. That keeps that limit of ability to borrow money high, and it also reports that you're making payments and establishing a credit history. Okay. If they say no, go somewhere else. Be careful. There are many hard inquiries will hurt your credit, so explain your credit score and ask first their opinion before you apply. There's a lot of banks out there. A lot of them will borrow you money. Literally, you're paying them to build your credit up in this scenario because you're going to borrow money and pay them interest on it. But if they all ask that they're going to do a heavy inquiry, ask before. You already know from pulling up your report what your credit score is. So tell them what it is and say, are you going to be able to do this loan? My credit's only 630. Will you be able to do this loan if I leave a 6-month CD in there with you? Cut a deal with them. Work out something. I'm sure that you can do it. I've done it in the past. It's not hard. Once you have money at the bank and they know they can't take it out like a CD, they're more likely to loan you money because you have some type of collateral there. Okay? Pay off the loan and then get another one. All right? Or continue that loan with them and continue using that loan to pay other bills and pay that down so that the interest rate stays low but that account stays open. Even if you only leave it open and you owe them $10, there's a big credit limit on there. Let's say in a month you charge up like a line of credit. You charge up $100 in bills. You paid $100 in bill and leave the $10 in there and the benefit, $10 in the that owed. That's going to build the credit on there or the interest on it, and build yourself up some rapport. Like I said before, Rome was not built in a day. Neither will your credit score be built in a day. But there are other. One, call up your credit card companies immediately and ask them to increase your limit. The limit increases your score. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but the more money that people are willing to borrow you, the higher your credit score will be. So if your credit card companies can raise your limit because you've been paying those credit cards on time, that will increase your score. But don't get your limit increased and then go out and spend $300 or $400 because it's increased. I know the temptation's right there. Ooh, I got more money. Don't do it. Okay, just ask for it to be and stick to your budget. Okay. Borrow money from friends or family to pay down limits on your credit card. You have high credit cards, make sure you pay them back or you're going to lose your friends or family. But in this case, you have a credit card bill that's $1,000. Go to a friend, two friends, or a family member and a friend, borrow $500 a piece, pay off your credit card, pay them back. Most likely, they won't charge you a high interest rate. Tell them you'll pay them interest. It's better than paying a credit card company 15 or 20%, where you could pay a family member 5%, and they'll be glad to get it to do you a favor. Now, whatever you do, pay them back, or it's going to be disastrous for you. Okay, then you're going to have no family and no friends and still have a high credit limit. All right? Don't ask too many credit cards. Too many accounts can hurt your score. Now, if you don't have a credit card, I hear people say this all the time. Well, I don't have any credit cards. Well, that's not a good thing for your credit score. They want to see that you have credit cards because you're establishing a line of credit that's showing you pay your bills on time and you pay your credit cards on time and you're responsible. So if you already have 10 credit cards, don't get any more credit cards. Okay, pay those off, leave them open, and maybe dust a couple of them. Every month you decide to pay a couple bills on them and then pay it down, but that's fine. Because if you apply for too many credit cards in a short period of time, it will then lower your credit score because those are hard inquiries we talked about before. Hard inquiries lower your credit score. If you don't have any credit cards or any accounts, then get an account. On destroyyourdebt.org, we have credit card offers that I put them up there for credit card companies that take people with low credit. For students out there, so if you're a student, you have no credit, use this. It'll help build it. Get a student credit card. There's links there for loans to work with you to get those loans to help rebuild the credit. There's a lot of things. Even if it's a secured credit card, you have to deposit $200 to be able to use it, $200. That's great, but make sure that they report to the credit agency. There's a lot of secured cards that don't. I put up on a website some secured cards. All of them do report to the crediting agency. If they don't bother getting them. Whether you get them in destroyyourdebt.org or you get them someplace else, make sure that they report to the. All right. Apply for a Visa or MasterCard if you don't have too many already. Or get yourself a prepaid credit card using to keep the savings. I put that up there anyway. On the website, I'm repeating myself, but repetition's the mother of memory. Make sure they report to the bureaus. If they don't bother. Also, be very careful that it is not a credit company that is give you $5,000 of credit out of a magazine of junk that they sell. Make sure it's a Visa or a MasterCard or American Express or Discover, a valid credit card company, not a company that only allows you to purchase things out of a magazine. It's not worth it. They'll give you $5,000 of credit. You can buy $5,000 worth of stuff from their magazine that's really worth like $500, and it's not gonna do you any good. Eventually, you're not gonna want to pay it off. It's gonna go on your credit. Okay, so here, go to the site, click here, and use one of the cards or loans that all work with lower credit scores. There's some for lower, some for students. I'm trying to find more and more to put up on the site for you guys, but if you take this link there, you can apply, and they usually work with students who have lower credit. and that's just students, but people with lower credit scores